It's time for another edition of Cowboys Insider inside the Academy Sports and Outdoor Studios here at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Bill Jones along with Nate Newton, Rick Goslin, and Daryl Johnston back with us this week as the Cowboys get set to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A noon kickoff at AT&T Stadium coming off the disappointing loss to Indianapolis on Sunday, 23-0. The Colts win it. Got a lot to break down over the course of the next half hour. We kick it off with some opening comments from the guys, and let's start with Moose.
Well, I'm just disappointed that I didn't get to talk about the big Philly win. I got to talk about the disaster in Indianapolis. So
this is your opportunity right now.
The most troubling thing to me afterwards was the comments from some of the leaders of this team that they needed a loss like that. You never need a loss. Stop it. Stop it.
You know, I just believe this right here. Now that you've had that loss, comment to what Moose said, now that you've had that loss, will you pick back up your intensity and play hard this game?
There's no place like home. There is no place like home. And they're back home this week, and the season's on the line this week.
Click your heels.
And, of course, they rattled off 3 straight wins at home in that 5-game win streak, and now playing a Tampa Bay team that's 5-9 on the season. A very important game as the Cowboys have everything right in front of them, just like they did last week. They can win the NFC East with a win over Tampa Bay. But first, let's go back and look at that loss to the Colts. And what stuck out offensively for you more than anything, Daryl?
They got beat in the trenches on both sides. So, the injury left guard, now you're down even farther. The offensive line has struggled all season long. And the center guard area last week, the pressure was coming right up the middle. They couldn't run the ball effectively between the tackles. So the strength of what this team has been for the past couple of years is now really concerning.
Autry is his name. He had 8 tackles, was 8 sacks coming into this game. He continued to flourish, and especially when we kept having all the backups come in. They took advantage of our middle, and that's the strength of any team. Once you take advantage of the middle, it's over.
Did you forget about the blocked field goal?
Didn't start the right way either, did it?
No, and on the other side of the ball, the Cowboys are successful. It all starts with the pass rush. They have a fierce pass rush. The pass rush didn't get to luck last week. The Colts have a great blocking front. They've shut out 6 teams from sacks this season. The Cowboys one of them. If the Cowboys don't get to the quarterback, it makes for a longer day for the defense.
Execution will always be the key, and it's the middle. I bragged on Antoine Woods. I bragged on Ross, Tyrone Crawford. I bragged on all of these guys, but they didn't come to play. And then when they went into the second half, they took over physically. They just got smashed.
You know, when they didn't score on the goal line, you almost felt the deflation of this team. Like, I think if it would have been a different game had they scored, made it 7-7, but there was a deflation after that stop.
You look at the red zone now, 31st in the league in red zone, and you got to be able to execute when you have a well-designed play like that. But you're looking at an offensive line. Yeah, the Pro Bowl team's announced this week, and Zach Martin makes it for the 5th straight year. Tyron Smith makes it for the 6th time in his career. But not having Zach Martin, as you talked about, Daryl, as he left that game and left the game before and didn't play that game, that's big for this team. They need to get Zach Martin back in there.
Absolutely. I mean, he's the healthiest of those good guys that you remember from the past. And some of these things now are becoming reputation. They are not playing at a Pro Bowl level consistently during the course of the season. So that would be my number one concern right now is the way you've built this team to be able to run the ball effectively, have the play action off of that, control the clock. Your offensive line is beat up and it's struggling.
When they were down there in that 4th and 1, man, a couple of guys just whiffed blocks. Didn't even get Zeke opportunity to do what he needed to do. It's a lot of things you're going to have to fix, but more importantly, man, you got to fix your quarterback.
I think it's a testimony to Zeke that he's going to win another rushing title with an average line. I mean, when he had the best line in football 2 years ago, he won it hands down. But he's going to do it. Most of this stuff is coming on his own.
This season's going to take a toll on him.
Yeah,
I mean, that was physical on Sunday. I mean, he was getting hit hard on every carry.
And credit Matt Eberflus and the Indianapolis Colts defense as they played very well in this game. You talk about Dak Prescott. Nate, you mentioned him and fixing the quarterback. It's not a quick fix as far as what they're doing right now as they try to make this playoff push.
It's a few things he has to work on. It's going to take the rest of this season and the off season. Standing in the pocket, understanding his situations, down and distance. You've knocked us out of repeatedly knocked us out of field goal range. You drop balls when we're going out to try to close out games. You can't do that as a quarterback. I mean, everybody's saying we love Dak, but Dak, you have to be smart. Last year, 2 years ago, you came into this league as a protector of the football. He hasn't done a good job of that, and that hurts your team.
And sacked 51 times on the season, and to go along with the holding calls on offense as well. All right, we're just getting started here on this edition of Cowboys Insider. When we come back, we turn our attention to that Dallas defense as they try to get back on track against Tampa Bay on Sunday.
Cowboys Insider, presented by Baylor Scott & White, is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, the official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T, more for your thing, that's our thing. And by Baylor Scott & White, changing healthcare for the better. This segment is brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Cowboys now at 8-6 on the season after the loss to Indianapolis. Take on Tampa Bay on Sunday at AT&T Stadium with a chance to clinch the NFC East. Welcome back to Cowboys Insider, and now time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Sound of the Week from one Tyrone Crawford.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to use the word feeling ourselves or whatnot, but yeah, I think maybe, I guess maybe we got a little bit more comfortable than we should have, and yeah, I guess we needed this, and maybe it came at the right time. So, we're gonna fix it. Going into next week, banging.
And it was not just Tyrone Crawford. It was several people in that Cowboys locker room after the loss to the Colts. Rick's shaking his head. I was shaking my head when I first heard it. We heard Daryl right off the top. So, Daryl, have at it.
I don't know how you get to that point where you say you're feeling good about yourself. You've beaten one team with a winning record. One team with a winning record. How do you feel good about yourself? You came through a great stretch. Congratulations. But really, I mean, that shocked me, that soundbite.
I mean, they just got ran over. They just got smashed. These guys, and I'm not saying they were devastated, but what could you say? 0, 23, what happened? They had no answers. They're a young team, and they didn't mean for it to come out like that, but it came out. Live with it.
When Jimmy was coach, you lose like that. There's a bus pulling up. There's a couple guys leaving the next day. I mean, there was no sense of security. There seems to be a sense of security on this team, and there's not. You need a greater sense of urgency. I'm with Daryl. A loss is never good. You never benefit from a loss.
I agree. But besides Jason Garrett, who can impact them besides the coaches? The coaches have been to Super Bowls. The coaches have played. But as a player, who could step in there and say, fellas, this was a bad loss. We don't lose like this. Yes, we can't win every game, but we don't lose like this. Tell me the guy in that locker room that can step up and do it.
Well, it was Jason Witten.
Well, I mean, he's in the booth
He's
battling Booger right now. So, I mean, what's the deal?
Yeah, that's
They need the mouthpiece of the team. They need, that comes out and says, we got beat. We got our butts kicked in all three phases. That's it. It's simple. There's nothing else to it. And would we have watched that film on Monday? I don't think Jimmy would have let us watch it.
He wouldn't have watched it.
You should already know what happened.
Yeah. Tony would have said Tony would have drilled us, Coach. Why? But when I heard that, I'm like, wow, I'm glad Coach Landry in here, and I'm glad Coach Johnson in here. But I went to thinking like, okay, who can correct this? Who? Ain't nobody got no skins. Ain't nobody got no pelts. Who can correct this? Nobody but the head coach.
I in the post-Jimmy era, I thought the Cowboys were most vulnerable when they started feeling good about themselves. And I think last week that team felt pretty good about themselves. People talking about Super Bowl, and all of a sudden, crash.
But to Daryl's point, they haven't done anything yet. I mean, yeah, it was a 5-game winning streak, but they haven't done anything.
Those are all teams with losing records, except New Orleans. They've got one signature win, and it was a great win.
As far as this defense is concerned, obviously you credit what Indianapolis did, especially their offensive line. What concerned you, what you saw on defense from the Cowboys in that game against the Colts?
Step back and tackling. They missed tackles on the perimeter that gave a lot of extra yards to the running game.
I think it was my interior. My guys did not. When they first got the block field goal and they came in and they punched that thing in, I went back and watched each guy. Each guy got physically handled. Their center and guards physically handled our inside guys going up to our linebackers. Our linebackers could not run. Jalen couldn't run free. Van Der Esch couldn't run free. Sean Lee was a little rusty, so, he couldn't be himself. When your interior is not soaking up linemen, this is what you're going to get. We were not physical at all.
And I think it's been a season-long problem with this defense. No takeaways. The Bears have a great defense. They have 35 takeaways, 26 interceptions. They take the ball away. This team doesn't take the ball away, and that puts too much pressure on your offense when you need to get a punt and have an 80-yard drive.
But it was proven this week you can have no takeaways and still make the Pro Bowl. Byron Jones made the Pro Bowl. It's the first time since 2010 that a cornerback has made the Pro Bowl without an interception.
Wow.
He has played great coverage.
He has.
Yeah, that's the
right.
one thing lacking from his resume is the takeaway.
Right.
But from a coverage standpoint, he's been great.
You take it steps at a time. And this is his first year back after a 2-year absence at corner. Coach Rashad did a great job. I think he would get better as time goes on. But I agree with what Goose said. You have to come up with takeaways. He had an amazing stat where the Bears have had 6 or 7 turnovers by returns, touchdowns, whether it's an interception, whether it's special teams, whether it's a fumble. You have to help generate that right there. But Moose and Goose, offenses are built to score, and that's when we haven't done it.
All right, we're wrapping up this segment. I will say this about the Colts being physical. Rick's going to be voting on a guy on that offensive line from the Colts, Quentin Nelson, in about 15 or 20 years for the Hall of Fame.
I have no reservation making him the Offensive Rookie of the Year right now.
He's Zach Martin.
Yeah.
His rookie year.
That's right. All right, we continue here on Cowboys Insider in just a moment and turn our attention to Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
This segment was brought to you by the Dallas Morning News. Nobody does sports like Sports Day. Your home for complete Dallas Cowboys coverage. This segment is brought to you by DraftKings, because you don't just want to watch, you want to play.
Cowboys Insider continues now as we take a look at the Cowboys' opponent this week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cowboys and Bucs at noon on Sunday. Jameis Winston, the quarterback of the Buccaneers, they come in here with a 5-9 record on the season. Last couple of weeks, they played Baltimore close last week. The week before against the Saints, they actually had a 14-3 lead at halftime of that game. What kind of threat does Tampa Bay pose, Daryl?
A different offensive style approach than you saw last week with Indianapolis. So it won't be all the run game. It's going to be the passing game. This is a very, very talented skill set. So the secondary needs to get ready. Jameis Winston has a lot of weapons. And to Rick's point, if you can't take the ball away from this team, you're really struggling with takeaways, because that's why they're 5-9.
Yeah, but they're the #1 rated passing team. They're going to score points, and they're going to throw it all over the place. Jones, get ready. You finna live up to your all-pro status, because they're going to throw it, and they don't care who is covering who. And this is a good team. And the reason I say that right there, because they have athletes that are not focused all the time. But if they come in here knowing playing against the Cowboys, national game, they come and focus and ready to play.
And what a treat for the fans in attendance at AT&T Stadium. The two teams that beat the Saints are playing this weekend.
That's exactly right.
Way to go, Rick.
Of course, that was much earlier in the season for Tampa Bay. So they played the Saints tough twice this season. But to your point, Daryl, on the picks, it's 25 interceptions for Tampa Bay on offense and 31 touchdown passes. Have your hands ready in that secondary.
Yeah, but a lot of players that they can roll out at you. O.J. Howard is one of the better tight ends in the league, and that's Cameron Braid is a red zone guy. Mike Evans is a matchup challenge, and Adam Humphries in the slot is very good.
Don't overlook these guys. Cowboys, we've always been taught it's about us and what we do. Be assignment sharp, because the guys that Moose and Goose have just named will hurt you if you're not ready.
The Bucs lead the league with 13 individual 100-yard receiving games by 4 different players, 3 different wide receivers. And Deshaun Jackson, He says he wants to play this week, so he may be back. So now you got Jackson, you got Evans, you got Godwin. There's going to be a lot of options for Jameis Winston.
And the biggest thing is they'll stretch the field on you. I mean, we saw, going back to his college days, Mike Evans, what he can do deep downfield.
Yeah, and Deshaun Jackson has kind of had a little bit of a rebirth this season with the deep ball and getting a connection with Jameis Winston. When you flip this over, this is a defensive line that has a lot of names you're going to recognize. They haven't played to their potential during the majority of the season, but the last couple of weeks, everything's starting to come together since they went to Duffner as their defensive coordinator. They've played a lot better.
And Jason Pierre-Paul has 11.5 sacks on the season, Nate.
He's a beast. I've always had respect for him, but even with the Giants, I think a guy who worked through that bad hand that he had a mishap with some firecrackers a few years ago, but he's an animal. He plays at a high level. He's in the Pro Bowl, a true Pro Bowler. I like this guy, man. Be prepared to block him all game.
And we talk about the Bucs being a little disappointing in the pass rush. They still have more sacks than the Cowboys. They spent the money. They went out and got Pierre-Paul. They got Vinny Curry away from the Eagles. They drafted Vita Vea in the first round. Gerald McCoy is a Pro Bowl tackle in the inside. They've got 4 guys that can really dominate a game. And
if they want to.
If they want to. But lately they've wanted to, it seems. And I think the key will be blocking this front.
All right, we continue here on Cowboys Insider in a moment, and we take a look around the National Football League.
This segment was brought to you by DraftKings, because you don't just want to watch, you want to play.
Cowboys Insider continues now and brought to you by Auto Nation. It's time to go around the National Football League. And a couple of games on Saturday, once again this week, including one, Washington playing at Tennessee, that could affect things as far as the Cowboys are concerned. As the Cowboys enter this weekend needing a win to clinch the NFC East, they also could get in if they lose, and Washington and Philadelphia both lose. But how about Washington playing against Tennessee on Saturday, an important game for the Titans?
How about Josh Johnson?
Yeah,
what a great story that is. It's a tremendous story. I'm really happy for him. He's one of the guys that's going to be in the Alliance in the spring league with us, so it's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, stepping in, hasn't played in 7 years. So you get stability at the quarterback position if these guys believe in him. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I mean, literally like 12 days before he got that start, he was planning for the spring league, and there he is playing and winning a game against Jacksonville. But it's big for Washington. How about Derrick Henry? What he's done here the last couple of weeks?
He's been running hard. And Josh Jackson, I'm glad you got your 15 minutes of fame. It'll fall off this
Josh Johnson.
Josh Johnson, whatever your name. I mean, go play with Moose.
So he's so unknown he can't even get the license.
I mean, yeah, he got his win. So,
all right, how about Philadelphia? The Eagles go to the Rams and win last week. Huge win for them, and now they host Houston this week.
I'll give you that one.
I think right now Philadelphia's a better team with Foles than with Wentz, because a big part of Wentz's success last year was with his legs. I don't think he's back yet from the knee injury last year. He's not as mobile. We saw that here. And I think right now, as a pocket passer, Foles is a better quarterback for this team than than Wentz. And I think they've got a shot against the Titans.
And he gets Alshon Jeffrey involved in the game. I mean, he's one of your better guys on the outside, and he disappears when Carson's quarterback.
Yep.
So the Eagles there at 7-7 on the season, and things are not only wide open for them as far as the NFC East if the Cowboys don't take care of business, but also in the wild card race, because one of the feature matchups of this week, Seattle, which stubs its toe last week against San Francisco, is hosting Kansas City.
I thought Seattle was one of those teams you did not want to face in the playoffs early on, regardless of whether you were favored or not. They were running the ball, they're playing good defense, all that travels in the postseason. So I was shocked that they lost in overtime to the Niners.
They'll play strong this week, and they'll barely lose to Kansas City, but I think they'll still be prepared for the playoffs. I think they'll be ready.
This is a bad matchup for the Chiefs, because the Seattle wants to run the ball. Kansas City can't play defense. The Seahawks may have the ball for 35, 36 minutes this week.
Y'all still riding that defense. Okay, we'll see. Mahomes fears no one. Thank you.
I'm surprised you didn't have this one. Is this true? There wasn't a 300-yard passer last week, but there was 9 100-yard rushers. So we're into December. We're already transitioning.
December football.
When it gets colder, people run the ball.
Right, and we don't see any 54-51 games anymore, apparently. All right, we continue with Cowboys Insider with a key to a Cowboys victory when we come back.
Cowboys Insider, presented by Baylor Scott & White, was brought to you by AT&T. More for your thing, that's our thing. Baylor Scott & White, changing healthcare for the better. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Do the Cowboys take care of business on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Final minute or so here of Cowboys Insider. Let's go around the horn. A key to a Cowboys win and an NFC East title on Sunday, Daryl.
Fast start, capitalize on your opportunities, no negative plays. You had 100 yards in negative plays last week with sacks and penalties. Can't do that.
Red zone, 70% or better. Zeke, 100% of all the times, and you'll win the game.
Yeah, it's repetitious. Give the ball to Zeke. They want to run the ball against a defensive line that wants to rush the passer. It should be wide open for Elliott.
And it could be a good week for the red zone. Cowboys 31st in the league in red zone offense. Tampa Bay is at the bottom of the heap in red zone defense. So maybe this is the week they can punch it into the end zone. We shall see. That does it for Cowboys Insider. We want to wish you a Merry Christmas and happy holidays. For Daryl, Goose, and Nate, I am Bill Jones this week, and we will see you again next week here on Cowboys Insider.
Humbug.
Last week I said I was
That was
Nate.
great. That was great. That was great last week.